welcome to another video. Today we're back in my sketchbook and we're just drawing out a little comic. I just felt like drawing a little comic. Originally this comic was supposed to be about you guys getting introduced to some side characters in the story of Kira and Nick. I figured that since Kira and Nick are sort of supposed to be part of like mafia families, two separate mafia families, it would only make sense if I started to, create characters that would be in those mafia families. And so I started working on them, and so each of them has like a right hand man, and then they also have like a left hand man type of thing. So they have like two subordinates who are like the ones in charge of doing things for them. Like I said, Kira was always supposed to be like the sort of person who was going to take over her family, and so to do that she was going to have people that she delegates stuff to in a sort of way. And also Nick is also supposed to have that sort of thing, but since he sucks at being like the second in line for his family, the guys that he has is like his right and left hand mans are sort of kind of also sort of kind of screw ups in that sort of sense. So for Kira's two bodyguards, or not bodyguards, but her two like subordinates, they're supposed to be very competent, and then for Nick's subordinates, they're supposed to be sort of kind of like him, where they're like goof ups, fuck ups type of guys. And so I did design them already in my sketchbook. You guys will see that whenever I do a sketchbook tour of them. But I was just going to draw this little mini comic so that way I could introduce them. And then I never got around to introducing them in this little mini comic. It's like a lot of build up to what is supposed to be their introduction. And I didn't get around to it. I am going to probably do it next week because I already know what I want them to look like. So this is just supposed to be like a little lead up comic to that sort of thing, to Kira introducing Nick to her subordinates. I just didn't get around to finishing it, unfortunately. This did take me a little bit, around like 40 minutes to sketch out, a little bit less than 40 minutes, just because the sketches didn't actually take that long. What actually took a little bit longer was me writing out the dialogue. So sorry if you guys don't like seeing me write out dialogue, but I feel like that's how you get like the gist of the comic. I know I did do like a couple of comics in the past for my videos where I don't actually put the dialogue on there for you guys to see what it was about, and that was more about me being shy about sharing my writing. But now I'm like, it doesn't really matter. It's not like anything embarrassing. It's like very simple sort of dialogue here, and so I don't really mind sharing it with you guys. But if you're like in the future, you're like, hey, just cut out when you write the dialogue and then just have the dialogue appear on the screen, I could do that for you guys at a later date. I just didn't want to do all those cuts because it takes forever to cut the videos. Actually, it doesn't really take me super long to cut my videos, just because I do a very simple style of cutting. I don't do anything like, sort of a lot of heavy editing. I just cut out the parts where I'm not drawing, just because I think that would be boring, just to stare at the page while I'm thinking about what I'm going to draw next. I think sometimes if I want to do a little bit more advanced editing, but I'm like, that seems like so much work and so much effort, and that's a lot for daily videos, so I don't. But yeah, if you guys want me to start cutting out dialogue, I can go ahead and do that. Anyway, on to a little bit about what the materials are for this sketchbook spread thingy. It's just, usually I use a High-Tech C, you guys know that, but today I decided I was going to use a Pilot G2. It's in the color red, and it's a 0.38. For a really long time, these were my go-to pens. Not the red one, obviously, but the black ones. I would use them for lining for a long time, and I still really do like them for lining. I don't really have that many of them anymore because I did have a bunch of them a long time ago, but as the years go by, I started giving them out to people. I was like, yeah, you can have this pen, because they're actually really good pens. And so I'd be like, I would write with them, and someone would ask to borrow my pen, and they'd be like, oh, this is so nice. And I'm like, yeah, you can have it. Just because I had so many, and then I gave away so many that I don't have it that much anymore. I think I only have like 2 left. And that was after having like, oh my gosh, like 70 of them. Which you're like, why the hell did you have 70 pens at one time? My grandma got them for me as a birthday present one year, and she's like, you can spend like $100 at the store. She's like, I'll give you $100 for your birthday. You get to pick what you want. And I was like, I want $100 worth of pens. And so I bought a shit ton of pens. I love them so much. I still really love pens of all kinds, but I was about to say I haven't gone on a $100 spending spree for pens, and that was a fucking lie. I don't know why I said that. I was going to say that. It's not true. I was like, I haven't spent $100 on pens since then, which this is not true. Probably not at one time. I've spent money on like Copic Margaret refills, but not like on like actual pens. At least not $100 at a time. Just because we got a little bit more frugal with our own money. Grandma's not always handing out $100 bills, you know what I'm saying? This is my everyday life. But anyway, yeah, so this is a Pilot G2 in the color red, in 0.38. They actually, I don't know if they make other colors in this sort of size. This is the smallest size that they offer, is a 0.038, and then the biggest size they offer, I think, is a 1. But I don't really like pens that are over 0.5 nowadays. Ever since I've moved to having the fine point pens, I can't go back. And especially using like a 1 point pen, I'm like, ugh, it's so like goopy. And it also takes forever to dry. Even these ones, compared to my high-tech C's, they took a long time to dry. And I don't realize how often I smear ink. I really do, because I'm always dragging my hand over ink whenever I draw. I'm an idiot. So I always forget to like put a piece of paper when I'm drawing. But with my high-tech C's, they dry pretty fast just because the nib is so small. But even this Pilot G2 in 0.38, I always say the full name like it's like a person, but yeah, it smears a lot more than my high-tech C's, just because the nib is like a little bit bigger. It's almost 10 millimeters bigger. So 10 millimeters, is it millimeters or centimeters? It's not centimeters, it's millimeters, I think. Not 10 millimeters, so it's like, I don't know, 2 millimeters, I don't know. Something about it just is a little bit, I don't know the math on pens and pen sizes, but yeah, it's a little bit bigger than my 0.3s for my high-tech C, so they do smear a little bit. I don't really super mind so much, just because it's smeared in the places where I was going to add hatching anyway. I cut out the hatching for the video for you guys, just because it takes forever, and this video was already almost going to be 40 minutes long when I was recording it, so I was like, I'll just cut out the hatching. But yeah. So a little bit of background on what is going on in this comic specifically. Like I said, this is supposed to be about Nick meeting Kira's subordinates, and she's kind of just sort of telling him about it as she gets there. Like, I don't know why I always think it's an apartment. It's kind of like their wing of the house. I imagine that the house that they live in is rather large, and it includes a lot of the family members, like the dad and like other members of the quote-unquote family, the mafia family or whatever. And so Nick has his own like section of the house, and Kira is also in that section of the house with him, which is so silly, because sometimes I think that they have like separate rooms, and then I'm drawing them in the same room, and it's like implied that she's getting the house ready for them to meet. And it's like, well, if she stays in a separate room, why is she in there with him? But this is also supposed to be even before they get married, and so it's like, okay, so they're not married, but they're staying in the same like area of the house. That doesn't make any sense. And honestly, I know that it doesn't make any sense. I just wanted to draw this because it was just giving me like an area for them to talk and have this conversation. And I also know this is canon anyway, so it's just sort of kind of an exploration of that sort of thing. So maybe in the future, when I do get around to writing the comic all the way, I might want to have them be married at this point in time, but I'm not sure. But yeah, so basically Kira is getting the house ready for Nick to meet her subordinates, or just for her subordinates to come over, and Nick is kind of confused on why they didn't come with her, because Nick kind of goes everywhere with his subordinates. Obviously they're not here in the room right now, just to give them some privacy, but they're probably like outside the door, just because he is the second in line to take over like the mafia family, and so he kind of needs to be under protection all the time, or else he'll get murdered basically. And so he's like, well, if they're supposed to be like your subordinates and they're like loyal to you, why didn't they come with you? And Kira is just basically explaining like, I wanted them to come with me. Like, she doesn't say this on the page, but basically her subordinates are loyal to her, but they could not come with her because technically they work under the family's payroll, like her family's payroll. And since she wasn't payrolling them herself, like out of her own pocket, they were going to pay through like the family's money. So they work for the family. And so essentially, since Kira is going to be with another mafia family, she's not part of the family anymore, so they don't work for Kira. They end up working for the family, and the family that they work for is essentially Kira's brother, who Kira has a sort of rivalry with because he did sell her off pretty much to get married to Nick, and she's like pissed off about that because she was originally supposed to take over the family, and her brother sort of kind of made this coup against her. And so she has that sort of vendetta, and then just sort of kind of to rub it in her face, he made sure that her subordinates would not be able to go with her to the new family, and that's why she's so pissed off in one of the panels, I guess. But I'd like to do this comic. This was actually really fun for me, just because it gave me a little bit more of an exploration of Kira's emotions and the way that I wanted to display her emotions with the whole breaking the pillow thing. So what I always wanted for Kira when it came to her expression wise is I always want her to be smiling in pretty much all the time, unless she's gonna be like full on crying, but I don't really plan on drawing her too much full-on crying unless it's like a very an emotionally resonant moment, and then that would be like sort of kind of the thing where you see like her facade break and then you see like the smile drop because she's like actually feeling emotions or whatever. And so I want her to keep the smile even when she's getting angry. And so this part of the comic where she's getting mad talking about her brother was actually really fun for me to do because it gave me a way to like try to draw that smile in a way where it's still a smile, but it's really sort of kind of conveying all the anger I want her to have. I did a little bit of that exploration in the expression challenge I did with her. I'm still working on that. It's taking me a hot minute to get it done, but I'm still working on that very slowly, and so I explored that a little bit, but I don't think I explored it in a way that I was actually really thinking too much about how I wanted it to look in like a sort of comic form. I was sort of drawing those just like as illustrations, which is like sort of kind of not the point of that expression challenge. It was supposed to explore them in a way that you would, I guess, draw them all the time. It's supposed to be for character consistency, and I'm not really great at drawing characters consistently. You guys can see that through this little comic page. I'm still not very good at that. I am sort of kind of planning to do reference pages for all of my characters, so that way I can get them a little bit more consistent. That includes like character expressions and sort of kind of their proportions in a way that I like, because I just draw them off the top of my head and I don't actually know where the proportions of their faces go in a way that I like. Like, I don't know how far Kira's eyes are supposed to be up or down on her head, or where her nose fits in relation to her eyes and her mouth and stuff like that. Like all the technical shit, because knowing the proportions of someone's face is actually going to help you a lot when it comes to like creating their likeness or whatever. And so I need to figure out what I want her proportions of her face to look like when it comes to, you know, drawing them over and over again consistently, because once I know those proportions, it'll get a lot easier. And so yeah, I'm trying to figure that out currently. So yeah, they don't look super consistent on this page, but that's okay. Like I said, it's just a doodle in my sketchbook. Everything is just a doodle in my sketchbook. When are things gonna get serious? I'll let you guys know. I don't know yet. Just for now, I'm keeping things super simple, super casual. I like things that are super casual just because it takes a lot of the pressure off of me, and I think that things that are casual are a little bit more fun and loosey and goosey, you know what I mean? And so that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to get the ideas down. I could have typed this beforehand. I know usually when I do like comics and stuff, it's sort of kind of based off of ideas I had already. But honestly, I did not know what to draw this week. And so I just sat here at my desk trying to think about what I wanted to draw on this piece of paper. And I stared at this piece of paper for a long time. And I knew I wanted to do something with their subordinates. Like I said, I have already sketched them out, so I know what they look like. But I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do them. For a while, I was thinking that I wanted to draw like what the interactions between Nick and Kira's two subordinates would be like, because I did draw a little bit of a comic with Kira and Nick's two subordinates. They have names. I'm just not saying their names because I do want to keep the names hidden. Not hidden, but like I want to save the names for when I introduce them in their own little videos. Just where I do like a comic with them or something. Not like anything super like, oh my god, this is their character video and this is them doing their thing and this is what their age is and shit like that. I mean, I have a vague idea what I want how old I want them to be. But like I said, I'm not really thinking about that right now. So it's not really supposed to be like character pages or anything when I introduce them. It's just me like a little tiny mini comic like this one. All of that just to say that I did want to draw a comic of Nick and the two subordinates for Kira, but I could not think of a dynamic that I wanted them to have. I kind of know what I want Kira's dynamic to be with Nick's two subordinates. I kind of want her to like kick their ass and get them in shape, because the little doodle that I did of them was basically a scene in my head that I had planned out where she's playing a game with them where she's like, I'm gonna pretend to be like an assassin and I'm gonna keep coming after you guys and killing, basically like offing you, I guess, because I think you're in poor shape. And they're like, we're not in poor shape, we're in great shape. And so she does that, and she's like going over and over again, keeps like getting the jump on them and stuff, and like putting them in situations where they would be, you know, offed or whatever. And so she's like, I'm gonna have to get you guys in shape because you are terrible at protecting Nick, and you're gonna get yourselves, you know, murdered. And so that's kind of what I want their dynamic to be like. They're gonna have to learn how to follow her orders and do some stuff to get themselves in better shape for actually protecting, you know, like their charge or whatever. But I don't know exactly what I want Nick's relationship to be with Kira's subordinates, because the difference there is that they are hyper competent and he is like incompetent. So I kind of want them to look down on him a little bit. I know specifically one of them, they're supposed to be like a no nonsense character, and so they're not gonna really like Nick. And then the other one, they're supposed to be more of like they're a little bit more bubbly and like cutesy or whatever, and so they have a little bit more like, they're kind of like, they feel bad for him. They're like, oh, don't take it so hard on him, like he's just, he's kind of dumb, he doesn't know what's going on. And so this is a little bit more patronizing, but I don't really know how to like do like a character interaction I want for both of them, that I want them to have with Nick at the same time. So I'm like kind of struggling with what I want that to be. And so I'm thinking about that currently before I draw like a little doodle comic of them together, and I'm actually struggling a lot with that, unfortunately. But also I'm struggling a little bit about what I want their characterization to be, because I haven't written out their character profiles yet. I've worked on a little bit of a character profile for Nick and for Kira, and for Kira's brother, who is the main villain, and then also I also named Kira's brother. I never talked about that. His name is Kane now, just because I was like, I think I need to think of a name that starts with K. And also, actually I didn't think of the name starting with K, but I was thinking of a name that I wanted to be like for a betrayer, because he does betray Kira. It's like the main premise of the story is that he betrays Kira, but I was like, I don't know what I want his name to be. And so I was gonna Google betrayers, and then all of a sudden I was like, Kane, like the original betrayer, he killed his brother, and so it makes sense for his name to be Kane. And then also it starts with a K. The way that I spelled it anyway starts with a K, so it's Kane and Kira. And then so there's gonna be, I already have like a character profile a little bit worked out for Kane, and then I have another one worked out for Marco, who is Nick's dad. And so I have a little bit of those, but I haven't written them for these new characters yet, and so hopefully I'm going to be able to work on those before I actually draw them in a video for you guys. You guys can let me know if you're ever actually interested in any of the lore I have for my stories. I might actually start doing more videos about them. I always talk about them a little bit vaguely. This is just because I get a little bit nervous about sharing more details, and also I don't want to give out too many details, because like I said, I do kind of want to make this into a comic, and I am starting to do some writing to make it into a comic, but I had lacked the motivation for actually getting it done, just because I'm like, nobody's going to want to read it. Nobody cares. It's like just doing it for me. And it's like, even if nobody read it, it would still be good for me to do it, just because that way I knew that I could do it. That's like the whole point of publishing like shorter stories, is just to know that you can do it. And so I did have a goal this year where I wanted to write some short stories, and I have done a lot of writing. I've done a lot of writing this year, but I haven't finished anything, which is sort of kind of the issue, is that I can write ideas and come up with ideas, and I can bang out a couple of pages, like 10, 20, sometimes even 30, 40 pages for it, but I just never finish it. And so that's my issue. And so I do want to finish this comic. I 100% do not want to finish this comic before the end of the year. There's only 6 months left in the year, and I probably could write the first draft before the end of the year, so that might be like my goal. But banging out all of like the drawings and shit before the end of the year, if I worked on nothing but that, I think I could get it done. But I do like to do other things, and so I don't think I could do that. But I do want to eventually write this comic. I'm probably gonna shoot for next year, and I want to like write the whole thing and draw the whole thing, and I kind of only want to post it when I'm actually 100% finished. I know for a fact that I'm not the type of person who can get things done in a sense where I can't like create a buffer and then like keep doing it one after another. I've tried to do that with my YouTube videos, like create a buffer, but I am terrible at that. I do not commit to keeping a buffer. I'm just like, I have videos ready, like I don't have to make a video today. It's like, you have to make a video to keep up the buffer. And so if I wanted to make a comic, I could not make a comic with buffers, because I would run out of buffers before like buffer chapters before I would actually start working on new chapters, and then I would be cramming all the time and the art would be shit. And so I want to write the comic completely, including little side stories and stuff. And so I'm like planning on it to be like at least 50 chapters, but then I also want to like put like some sort of little mini comics in between the chapters, just because I just think that those would be fun. And so I'm trying to figure out how long I want it to be currently. I have like the very, very baseline of the plot, and I'm really just trying to work on expanding it a little bit more. So that's really the issue that I'm having currently. But you guys can let me know if you're interested in more of their story stuff. Like I said, I probably still will write it even if nobody is interested, but just knowing that some people would be interested, that could be fun. That could be nice. Oh, and also thank you guys so much for 400 subscribers. I forgot to bring that up, but there's 400 of you guys now. That's so fun and so nice. I appreciate each and every one of you, and everybody who's new. It's so nice to hang out with you guys. But anyway, thank you guys so much for spending this time with me. I will go ahead and see you in the next one. Bye.